Hey there, from the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Ruby DeLuna with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Tuesday, July 29th. Beginning today with politics, a new poll of Washington voters points to political trouble for Governor Bob Ferguson. Gabriel Spitzer has more.
Ferguson's approval ratings are the lowest for an early-term governor since pollster Stuart Elway started asking back in the early 90s. The newest Cascade PBS Elway poll finds just 32% of voters rate his performance as excellent or good, compared with 53% who called it fair or poor. The most common reason people cited was Ferguson's handling of the state budget and taxes. Voters dinged him both for approving new taxes and for deep spending cuts. Ferguson did get high marks from some voters for his stance against the Trump administration, though a smaller number faulted him for it. A spokesperson for the governor said Ferguson, quote, inherited significant challenges and that he's focused on safety, affordability, and standing up to Trump rather than on polls. Gabriel Spitzer, KUOW News.
One day after a federal judge blocked the Trump administration from withholding Medicaid funding from Planned Parenthood, Washington State is suing the administration over the same issue. State Attorney General Nick Brown is part of a coalition of 24 Democratic-led states asserting the congressional budget measure illegally blocks health care access for millions of low-income Americans. The AG's office says 30 Planned Parenthood clinics in Washington provide screenings, birth control, and other services to its patients, half of whom rely on Medicaid. Seattle plans to limit where people can go clothing optional at one of its famed nude beaches, Denny Blaine Park. Cairo News reports that the city submitted its plan yesterday to a King County judge in response to a lawsuit by neighbors. The judge ordered the city earlier this month to create a plan that addresses complaints of sexual activity at the Lake Washington Park. Denny Blaine has historically been a clothing optional beach and an LGBTQ gathering space. Seattle's plan would separate the small park into two areas with nudity allowed at one. If approved, the areas would be divided by barriers and park staff would patrol Denny Blaine more frequently. Tacoma voters are choosing between 6 mayoral candidates in the August primary, but 2 familiar candidates have the fundraising momentum. KNKX reporter Mitch Borden has more.
Current Tacoma City Council member John Hines, along with former council member Anders Ibsen, have raised the most money in the Tacoma mayoral race. According to the Washington State Public Disclosure Commission, both candidates have brought in over $170,000 for their campaigns, far outpacing their competitors. Hines' platform prioritizes fostering economic development and ensuring the city continues to provide essential services. Ibsen currently works in real estate, and he says he wants to make Tacoma safer and more affordable. In Tacoma's style of government, the mayor is the public face of the city and functions as an at-large city council member, while the appointed city manager is the top executive. The top 2 vote-getters in the primary will move on to the fall general election. I'm Mitch Borden, reporting.
Boeing narrowed its losses and increased its revenue in the second quarter of this year, according to an earnings report out today. The company lost over $611 million from April to June. That's down from a year ago when its second quarter losses were nearly $1.5 billion. Overall, Boeing outperformed Wall Street's expectations. The airplane manufacturer delivered 150 planes in Q2 compared with only 92 last year. State wildlife managers are calling for the killings of up to 2 gray wolves, an endangered animal in the state. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife says wolves in the Togo Pack in northeast Washington have been preying on cattle. State policy allows wolves to be lethally removed in order to protect livestock. Wildlife agents have until August 7th to take up to 2 wolves. Then the pack will go back under evaluation. Police in Idaho have released a trove of documents from the investigation into the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. The killer, a former Washington State University graduate student, was sentenced last week. Northwest Public Broadcasting's Lauren Patterson has more.
New documents have been released in the case of 4 students who were stabbed to death in November 2022. After Brian Koberger pleaded guilty to killing Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. The Moscow Police Department created a page on the city's website to house documents related to the case because of the intense public interest. News of the killings garnered international attention, and the small police department expected a surge of public records requests. The webpage provides a transparent and easy way for public access. Hundreds of pages of redacted records reveal the sea of tips and information investigators navigated even after Koberger's arrest, and more could be coming. I'm Lauren Patterson, reporting.
And finally today, one of Washington State's own baseball greats has died. Hall of Fame second baseman Ryne Sandberg died Monday at age 65. Sandberg was born and raised in Spokane and was selected out of Spokane's North Central High School to play for Philadelphia in the 1978 amateur draft. He became one of baseball's best all-around players while starring for the Chicago Cubs. Sandberg announced in January of last year that he'd been diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer. He's considered a Chicago Cubs legend, and a statue of him sits outside Wrigley Field. Next time on Seattle Now, we'll talk about the costly problem of getting rid of old government boats in Washington waters.
If the Navy here in Seattle, for example, wants to destroy an old ship, they have to get the ship seaworthy enough to travel all the way down through the Panama Canal and around to Texas. It's a really long journey. It takes almost a month to get there, and it's extremely costly in just travel alone.
Hear that Wednesday morning. And that's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst. I'm Ruby DeLuna. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. We'll see you later.